In the quaint coastal town of Clearwater, the salty breeze carried whispers of old legends, stories of love and loss passed down through generations. At the heart of these tales was Elara, a young woman with an enigmatic beauty that captured the hearts of all who saw her. She was as much a part of the ocean as the waves that caressed the shore, her eyes reflecting the depths of the sea, and her spirit as free as the wind that danced across the water. Elara's life had always been intertwined with the ocean. She grew up in a small cottage on the edge of a cliff, where the rhythmic sound of the waves lulled her to sleep each night. Her mother, Morella, was a renowned healer, known for her knowledge of herbs and her deep connection to the sea. Elara learned the ways of healing from her mother, but she also inherited her mother's wild spirit and love for adventure. One stormy night, when Elara was just a child, tragedy struck. Her father, a fisherman, was lost at sea. The villagers searched for days, but his body was never found. Morella was left heartbroken, and from that day on, she never spoke of him again. Elara, however, believed that her father's spirit lived on in the ocean, and she would often sit by the shore listening to the waves and hoping to hear his voice. Years passed, and Elara blossomed into a young woman. Her beauty was unmatched, with flowing auburn hair that cascaded down her back and eyes that sparkled like the sunlit sea. She had many suitors, but her heart belonged to the ocean. She would spend hours swimming in the crystal clear waters, feeling the currents tug at her, as if the sea itself were calling her home. One summer day, a ship arrived in Clearwater, carrying a group of explorers. Among them was Kael, a handsome and adventurous man with a passion for the unknown. Kael was immediately drawn to Elara, captivated by her beauty and her mysterious connection to the sea. He spent his days trying to win her affection, sharing stories of his travels and the wonders he had seen. Elara was intrigued by Kael's tales, but she was hesitant to let him into her heart. She had seen too much loss in her life and was afraid to love again. Yet there was something about Kael that made her feel alive, and slowly she began to open up to him. They spent their days exploring the coastline, diving into hidden coves, and discovering the secrets of the ocean together. As their bond grew stronger, so did their love. Elara felt a happiness she had never known, and for a time it seemed as though the ocean's whispers had turned to songs of joy. But fate, it seemed, had other plans. One fateful evening, as the sun set in a blaze of orange and pink, a storm rolled in from the horizon. The villagers hurried to secure their homes, but Kael, ever the adventurer, insisted on taking one last dive before the storm hit. Elara begged him not to go, but Kael's spirit was as wild as the sea. He promised her he would return, and with a final kiss, he plunged into the churning waters. Elara watched from the shore, her heart pounding with fear. The storm grew fiercer, and the waves rose higher, crashing against the rocks with a deafening roar. Hours passed, and there was no sign of Kael. Elara's heart shattered as she realized he was lost to the sea, just like her father. She screamed his name into the night, but the wind and waves swallowed her cries. The villagers searched once more, but Kael was never found. Elara was left alone, her heart broken and her spirit crushed. In the days that followed, Elara withdrew from the world. She spent her time by the ocean, hoping to feel Kael's presence, but the sea was silent. Her mother, Morella, tried to comfort her, but Elara's grief was too deep. She felt as though a part of her had died with Kael, and she was left adrift, lost in a sea of sorrow. One evening, as Elara sat by the shore, she saw a figure in the distance. It was a woman, her hair flowing like the waves, her eyes as deep as the ocean. Elara recognized her as the sea nymph, a legendary being said to appear to those who had lost their loved ones to the sea. The nymph approached Elara, her voice soft and soothing. "Elara," she said, "the ocean has taken much from you, but it can also give. The spirits of those lost to the sea live on in its depths. Kael's spirit is here, waiting for you." Elara's heart ached with longing. "How can I see him?" she asked. The nymph smiled. "Come with me," she said, extending her hand. Elara hesitated for a moment, but then she took the nymph's hand, and together they waded into the ocean. The water was cold, but Elara felt a warmth in her heart. As they moved deeper, The sea seemed to part around them, revealing a hidden world beneath the waves. They swam through shimmering coral reefs and past schools of brightly coloured fish until they reached a place where the water was calm and clear. There, in the heart of the ocean, Elara saw Kael. He was surrounded by a soft glowing light, his eyes full of love. Elara's heart leapt with joy, and she swam to him, wrapping her arms around him. Kael held her close, and for a moment it felt as though they were one with the sea, their spirits entwined. "I've missed you so much," Elara whispered. "I've never left you," Kael replied. "The ocean is our home now, and we will always be together." Elara felt a peace she had never known, and she realized that the ocean had given her a gift. It had brought her back to Kael, and together they would live on in its depths, their love eternal. As the years passed, the legend of Elara and Kael grew. The villagers would often see a glowing light beneath the waves and hear whispers of love and loss carried on the wind. They believed that Elara and Kael had become part of the ocean, their spirits watching over the town, guiding those who had lost their way. And so, the story of Elara and Kael became a part of Clearwater's history, a tale of love and tragedy that was passed down through generations. The ocean, with all its beauty and mystery, held their secret, and its whispers continued to tell their story, a reminder that love can transcend even the greatest of losses. Elara's life in the ocean with Kael was filled with wonder and discovery. Together, they explored the deepest caverns and the brightest coral reefs, their love growing stronger with each passing day. The sea creatures welcomed them, sensing the pure bond they shared. Dolphins would guide them to hidden treasures, while schools of fish danced around them in vibrant colours. Yet even in this paradise, the shadows of their past lingered. Elara often found herself gazing upwards, watching the surface of the water, remembering the world she left behind. The memory of her mother, Morella, tugged at her heart, the image of her standing alone on the cliffs haunting her thoughts. Kael, ever perceptive, noticed her melancholy. One evening, as they rested in a tranquil underwater cave, illuminated by the bioluminescent glow of sea plants, Kael took Elara's hands in his. "You miss her, don't you?" he asked gently. Elara nodded, tears welling up in her eyes. "I do, Kael. She's all alone. I wish she could know that we're happy, that we're together." Kael kissed her forehead softly. "Maybe we can find a way to show her, to let her know we're at peace." Hope sparked in Elara's heart. "Do you think it's possible?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. Kael smiled. "In this magical place, anything is possible." Determined, they sought the wisdom of the sea nymph. She appeared to them in a swirling eddy, her presence calming and ethereal. "Elara, Kael," she greeted, her voice like the soothing sound of the tide. "How can I help you?" Elara explained their desire to reach out to Morella, to let her know they were safe and happy. The nymph listened intently, then nodded. "There is a way," she said, "but it requires a great sacrifice. Are you willing to do whatever it takes?" Without hesitation, Elara and Kael both nodded. "Yes," Elara said firmly, "anything." The nymph's eyes glowed with an ancient light. "Very well. To send a message to the world above, one of you must become a guardian of the ocean, forever bound to its depths, while the other returns to the surface. This bond will ensure that the message is delivered, but it means you will be separated until your spirits meet again in the next life." Elara and Kael exchanged a heart-wrenching glance. The thought of being apart was unbearable, yet the need to bring peace to Morella was stronger. Kael took a deep breath, his resolve clear. "I will stay," he said. "Elara, you must go back and be with your mother. Tell her our story, and let her know that love transcends all boundaries." Tears streamed down Elara's face as she clung to Kael. "I don't want to leave you," she sobbed. Kael held her tightly. "We will be together again, my love. This is not the end, only a temporary parting." The nymph watched their exchange with a mixture of sadness and respect. "The choice is made," she said softly. With a wave of her hand, the ocean around them began to glow. Elara felt herself being lifted, the water parting to allow her passage to the surface. As she rose, she kept her eyes locked on Kael's, memorizing every detail of his face. "I love you," she whispered, her voice carrying through the water. "Forever." Kael smiled, his eyes filled with love and reassurance. "Forever," he echoed. And then Elara broke through the surface, gasping for air as she found herself back on the familiar shore of Clearwater. The sun was setting, casting a golden glow over the waves. She looked around, disoriented. But then she saw Morella standing on the cliffs, her eyes wide with disbelief. "Elara?" Morella's voice was a choked whisper as she ran towards her daughter. Elara stumbled forward, collapsing into her mother's arms. "Mother!" she sobbed. "I'm here! I'm here!" Morella held her tightly, tears streaming down her face. "I thought I had lost you forever," she cried. "Where have you been?" Elara took a deep breath, composing herself. "I have so much to tell you, Mother, about the ocean, about Kael. He stayed behind to let me come back to you. He's a guardian now, but he's always with us." As the sun dipped below the horizon, Elara recounted her extraordinary journey, the love she found, and the sacrifices made. Morella listened, her heart aching with a mix of sorrow and joy. She could feel Kael's presence in the gentle waves that lapped at their feet, and she knew that Elara's love had transcended the boundaries of the physical world. Together, they walked along the shore, the bond between mother and daughter stronger than ever. Morella finally found peace, knowing that her daughter had found true love, even if it meant letting go. Time passed, and Elara adjusted to life on land once more. She and Morella continued their work as healers, their connection to the ocean never wavering. The villagers of Clearwater often spoke of the glowing light beneath the waves and the whispers of love carried on the wind. They knew that Elara and Kael's story was one of eternal love and sacrifice, a legend that would be told for generations to come. Elara never forgot Kael, and every evening she would stand on the cliffs, gazing out at the horizon, feeling his presence in the gentle caress of the breeze. She knew that one day they would be reunited, their spirits merging once more in the depths of the ocean. Until then, she lived her life with a sense of purpose and a heart full of love, knowing that their bond could never be broken. And so, the story of Elara and Kael continued to be whispered among the waves, a timeless tale of love and loss that reminded all who heard it that true love knows no bounds, and that even in the face of tragedy, the spirit of love endures. Years passed, and Elara and Morella's bond only grew stronger. They continued their healing work, drawing upon the knowledge of the sea and the gifts it provided. Elara often found herself lost in thought, her mind drifting back to the days spent with Kael beneath the waves. She would sit by the shore, her heart aching with longing, but she knew that Kael was always with her, his spirit entwined with hers. Morella too found solace in the ocean. She would often walk along the cliffs, her eyes searching the horizon, as if hoping to catch a glimpse of the glowing light that signalled Kael's presence. Though she missed her husband deeply, she took comfort in knowing that his spirit lived on in the ocean, watching over their family. One evening, as the sun set in a blaze of colours, a stranger arrived in Clearwater. His name was Aidan, a wanderer with a mysterious past. He had heard tales of the healing women who lived by the sea and sought their help. Aidan was tall and rugged, with eyes that seemed to hold the secrets of the world. Elara was immediately drawn to him, sensing a kindred spirit. Aidan shared his story with them, revealing that he had been searching for his own lost love, a woman named Seraphina, who had disappeared under mysterious circumstances. Elara and Morella listened intently, their hearts going out to him. They promised to help him in any way they could, and Aidan became a part of their lives, his presence bringing a sense of new beginnings. As the days turned into weeks, Elara and Aidan grew closer. They would spend hours talking, sharing their hopes and dreams. Aidan's stories of far-off lands and adventures captivated Elara, and she found herself feeling a spark of happiness she hadn't felt since Kael. Yet, there was always a part of her that remained tied to the ocean, a part that yearned for the love she had lost. One stormy night, as thunder rumbled and lightning illuminated the sky, Elara had a dream. She was back in the ocean, surrounded by the familiar glow of the underwater world. Kael appeared before her, his eyes filled with love and understanding. "Elara," he said softly, "it's time for you to move forward. Aidan needs you, just as you need him. Our love will always be a part of you, but you must live your life fully." Elara woke with tears in her eyes, her heart heavy with the weight of Kael's words. She knew he was right, but letting go was the hardest thing she had ever faced. She spent the next few days in deep thought, contemplating her future. Aidan noticed the change in her and gently pressed her to share what was on her mind. Elara told him everything, from her love for Kael to the dream she had. Aidan listened quietly, his expression one of deep empathy. "Elara," he said softly, "I don't want to take Kael's place. I want to help you heal and create new memories together. We can honor his memory by living our lives to the fullest." Elara felt a sense of relief wash over her. Aidan's words resonated deeply, and she knew that Kael would want her to find happiness again. She took Aidan's hand, a silent promise passing between them. Together they would face the future, carrying the past with them, but not letting it define them. As the seasons changed, so did Elara and Aidan's relationship. Their bond grew stronger, and love blossomed between them. They continued their healing work, travelling to distant villages and bringing hope to those in need. Morella watched their relationship with a heart full of joy, grateful that her daughter had found love once more. One summer evening, as they stood on the cliffs overlooking the ocean, Elara felt a sense of peace she hadn't known in years. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow over the waves. She could almost feel Kael's presence beside her, his spirit mingling with the sea breeze. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice carried away by the wind, "for everything." Aidan wrapped his arms around her, and together they watched the stars appear in the night sky. Elara knew that their journey was just beginning, and while the past would always be a part of her, she was ready to embrace the future with open arms. The legend of Elara and Kael continued to be told in Clearwater, a tale of love and loss that inspired all who heard it. The villagers would often see Aidan and Elara walking along the shore, their love a beacon of hope and resilience. And so life went on in the small coastal town, where the ocean's whispers carried the stories of those who had loved and lost, reminding everyone that true love never dies. It simply changes form, living on in the hearts of those who remember. Elara and Aidan's love story became a new chapter in the legend, a testament to the enduring power of love and the strength of the human spirit. They faced challenges together, weathering storms and celebrating joys, their bond unbreakable. And though Elara never forgot Kael, she found peace in knowing that his spirit was always with her, guiding her through life's journey. As the years passed, Elara and Aidan built a family, their children growing up with the tales of their parents' adventures and the magic of the ocean. Morella, ever the wise healer, became a beloved grandmother, sharing her knowledge and love with the next generation. The small cottage on the cliff became a place of laughter and love, filled with the memories of those who had come before and the promise of new beginnings. And so the cycle of life continued, each generation adding to the rich tapestry of Clearwater's history. The ocean, with all its mysteries and wonders, remained a constant source of inspiration and solace, its whispers a reminder of the enduring power of love. Elara and Aidan's story, intertwined with the legend of Kael, became a symbol of hope and resilience for all who heard it. And in the quiet moments, when the waves lapped gently against the shore and the stars twinkled above, Elara could feel Kael's presence, a comforting reminder that true love never truly fades. It lives on, forever etched in the heart.